Which trail is more difficult, the Appalachian Trail or the Continental Divide Trail? Terrain difficulty. So as far as terrain goes, Appalachian Trail overall is a lot more difficult, but if you're looking at the hardest parts of the trail, the CDT has some parts that are way tougher than the hardest parts of the AT, like certain areas in the San Juans, certain river crossings. But if you're looking from start to finish, AT is a lot harder terrain, a lot more rugged, a lot more rockier. Where the CDT, sometimes you have a nice wide big trail, a little bit of rocks, but you can really cruise on it 3.5 miles an hour. On the AT, I mean, if you're doing 2.5 miles an hour sometimes, like, that's good. And in the White Mountains, there's areas where you could be doing 1.5 miles an hour, and you know, you're lucky to get that.
Oh, you're good.
So some things about the CDT that are very difficult is the bushwhacking aspect. There was parts in Montana where you have trees almost waist high, one after another, and you do have to slow down quite a bit for that. You become quite efficient at going over or under these trees. On the AT, I mean, it doesn't even come close to having that kind of bushwhacking or going over trees. Hard parts about the AT is like Pennsylvania and New Jersey, where you get those annoying little rocks. You had a flow that you were cruising and just doing so good, and then you get to northern PA and that New Jersey area, and you're just hopping over these little rocks or trying to get around them. On the CDT, there's nothing like that. Overall, if you're taking the full Appalachian Trail or the full Continental Divide Trail, Appalachian Trail is physically a lot more challenging. There's just so much more climbing. The terrain is just kind of like, they just put a trail where they put a trail. Like the CDT, I mean, some of those trails are cattle trails, a lot wider. You can move a lot faster on them. There's some very steep climbs on the CDT, but if you look at the big picture, you're climbing a lot more on the Appalachian Trail. So AT wins this one. Next, the Resupply. So the Resupply on the Appalachian Trail is, you're looking at something like every couple days you can pretty much resupply, other than the 100-mile wilderness where it's going to be a little bit longer. On the Continental Divide Trail, your food carries are going to be a lot longer, which means a heavier pack. Not to mention your water carries are going to be a lot longer. The water sources are not as close by to each other, so you're going to be carrying more water and more food. In my experiences, I was able to get a hold of trail angels sometimes on the AT pretty quickly, and then sometimes we didn't have to hitch. On the CDT, the town could be 25 minutes away, 30 minutes away, and there's certain times where logistically it's a little bit harder getting into town on the CDT. So the Continental Divide Trail, by far, as far as logistics goes, is tougher. Trail magic. I was spoiled on the AT with trail magic. Like, you guys have helped me out so much.
Come on in.
Alright, we got some trail magic. Yeah, buddy. Nope's been waiting here a little bit, but
Yeah.
Cheers. The issue with the Osprey pack. Road crossing, sometimes we'd be low on food, and I have a bucket of sodas there, or a bunch of chips, or a bunch of this. On the CDT, we did get trail magic, but it was not even close to being as often. There's not as many people living out there. It's a lot more of a just relying on what you have in your resupply. We relied quite a bit on trail magic on the AT, and we got it quite often. On the CDT, you're looking at what you have in your pack is what you should really be, you know, that's your resupply right there. You're not going to get those trail magic as often. Next, weather. As far as bad weather days go, I can count on one hand all the bad rain days on the Continental Divide Trail. You're wet a lot on the Appalachian Trail, even when it's hot out. You think your clothes are gonna dry, like your sweat sometimes doesn't dry on you, so you're just walking around wet. As far as the weather goes, Appalachian Trail, even though you're more exposed on the CDT and you have to worry about potential thunderstorm coming and high winds are definitely going to be, sometimes you're dealing with the climbs and the winds. The AT it's just the AT. Out east, the weather's just a lot harder. Next, navigation. On the Appalachian Trail, you're following a 2-inch by 6-inch white blaze from Georgia all the way up until Katahdin. If you get lost, and which will happen sometimes, it's not going to be by a lot. On the CDT, I've been lost by like a couple miles. So that's 3-4 extra miles that I'm doing in that segment. And it's heartbreaking that to be going along northbound, and then next thing you know, you're on a wider trail, which you think is the CDT, but you're not on trail. So if it wasn't for gut hooks, like certain people that can't read maps, the CDT would pretty much be impossible. Thanks to gut hooks nowadays and GPS units, as long as you have it activated, you're looking at the terrain, you're keeping your eye on the map, you're not going to get lost as much, but you're still going to get lost on the CDT. So navigation is, I mean, the AT is right here, and then the CDT is like on a whole different level. And they're marking it a lot more than it used to be marked, but it's still, no matter how badly, I remember waking up and telling myself, you know what, today I'm not going to get lost at all. You zone out, you listen to music for a couple minutes, and then next thing you know, you're half a mile off trail. That's at least a mile more that you're doing that day. So CDT, a little bit of navigating there for sure. Next, mental difficulty. So the mental game on the Appalachian Trail, it's sometimes would be avoiding the crowds. So if you're somebody who likes their space, it's going to be kind of like the AT, you have nowhere to go. You're going to see day hikers, section hikers, through hikers. You're going to see cars on a regular day basis crossing a lot of roads. On the CDT, you're dealing with, sometimes I've had times where I didn't see a single person for 2.5 days. So if you're somebody that needs people, the CDT is going to be, it's going to be tough, especially if you don't have a hiking partner for this part of the trail. You're not with a group, you're by yourself. You're in your head a lot. I kind of liked it, but at the same time, like 2 days without seeing anybody, it was kind of hard. On the AT, I don't like crowds, I don't like a ton of people, but if I have a couple hikers to keep me going during the day, it's a little easier to have that moral support, to have other people, to see other people. On the CDT, you're kind of like relying on yourself sometimes, and CDT mentally is a lot tougher than the Appalachian Trail. In my opinion, I would say Appalachian Trail physically, yes, it is harder, but if you look at all of the big picture on the Continental Divide Trail, it's just a tougher trail. It's not tougher as far as the climbing goes, but pretty much everything else on the CDT, navigation, resupply, longer water carries, loneliness, the thought of a grizzly bear venturing into your camp when you're sleeping at night, wild cats, just that whole, the rattlesnakes, the overall picture, CDT is definitely the harder one.